Welcome to Midnight News, broadcasting live from Algiers. I'm your host, Miriam Zian, and here are tonight's headlines. 60 people died in 4 massacres committed by the Zionist occupation army during the past 24 hours in the ongoing genocide on the Gaza Strip, while a violent bombing left 8 dead in the west of Rafah. Next, the Hamas movement stresses that it is adhering to its position that it communicated to the mediators and confirms that the occupation is using the negotiations as a cover to invade Rafah. And after more than 7 months of war of annihilation on Gaza, U.S. President Joe Biden acknowledges that U.S. weapons have caused the death of Palestinian civilians and deepened the divisions in the occupation government. Welcome back to the program. At the outset, the Palestinian health authorities in Gaza announced Thursday that the death toll from the ongoing Zionist aggression on the Strip since October 7 has risen to 34,904 martyrs and 78,514 injured. The same sources said that the Zionist occupation committed 4 massacres in the Gaza Strip during the past 24 hours, claiming 60 lives and leaving 110 wounded, highlighting that thousands of martyrs are still under the rubble and on the roads as the occupation prevents ambulance and civil defense crews from reaching them. And in the ongoing tragedy in Gaza, Israeli airstrikes, artillery fire and naval bombardments have inflicted further devastation. Last night in Rafah, Israeli warplanes bombed a residential area to the city's west, resulting in the tragic loss of 8 lives, including 3 children. Israeli forces continue their assault, targeting areas surrounding the Rafah land crossing, while shells pound eastern regions like Al-Shoka and Al-Junaina. At the same time, Israeli naval vessels released machine gun fire on western Rafah and occupation artillery shells in the municipality building in the south, causing significant damage. The Ministry of Health reports a dire situation as the Israeli occupation tightens its grip on the Rafah crossing, preventing the movement of sick and wounded individuals. With crossings closed, essential aid, including medical supplies, food and fuel for hospitals, remain inaccessible. The Health Ministry warns of the tragic consequences with lives at stake due to the inability to seek urgent medical care or receive vital supplies. International actors urgently appeal to exert pressure to open the crossings and alleviate the worsening humanitarian crisis. And in southern Gaza, particularly in Rafah, it's facing escalating human suffering as the occupation army tightens its grip on the region, exacerbating threats to vital medical services amid patient struggles to access urgent health care. Hussein Barkan.
The onslaught in Gaza's hospitals by the occupying forces persists, deepening the humanitarian crisis across the region. Rafah, already grappling with a collapsed healthcare system, now confronts the occupation advance, putting its hospitals in the line of fire.
The medical situation is very critical. Rather, it has collapsed. The entire medical sector has collapsed. There are no beds for the patients. The patients are all over the hospital, in the corridors, in the halls. There are beds everywhere. Some have 1 or 2 patients on them. In the reception, there are patients on the floor.
The occupation aggression against Rafah exacerbates the plight. Crossings are sealed, barring access for the sick and wounded, as medical supplies, humanitarian aid, and essential fuel for hospital operations remain blocked.
Our destiny is unknown, as the border is shut until now. What is the coordination? No one knows. The situation is closed, and no one knows what will happen. And for us, when we will leave or how we will leave, we don't have information. The United Nations has not informed us of anything. The coordination is every 24 hours, and the border has been shut for 2 whole days.
Gazan patients, besieged and bombarded, endure excruciating pain without relief, with crossings shattered and hospitals destroyed. Accessing medical care becomes a perilous journey, especially for kidney patients like those at Al-Aqsa Martyr Hospital, the sole facility remaining in Gaza.
I'm a resident of Rafah and I can't go out. And Abu Yusuf al-Najjar Hospital stopped dialysis. We can't go because of the Jews. We came to Al-Aqsa Hospital here. They welcomed us, took care of us, doing the dialysis for us. God bless them.
Al-Aqsa Martyr Hospital teeters on the brink, lacking critical supplies and fuel. Southern Gaza hospitals face imminent service halts within days due to fuel shortages. Warnings from the World Health Organization underscore the dire situation after the occupation's closure of the Rafah crossing obstruct fuel deliveries, jeopardizing all humanitarian operations.
The head of the government media office, Salama Marouf, reported on Thursday that the number of martyrs who died as a result of random airdrops of Gaza in the Gaza Strip had risen to 21 martyrs, and that is after 2 more martyrs died during the last airdrop of aid in the Karama area, where one of the parachutes fell on the ceilings of a house or a warehouse, leading to the death of 2 martyrs who were waiting for aid. A member of the Hamas political bureau, Izzat al-Rishq, said that the movement's delegation left Cairo for Doha, pointing out that Hamas is adhering to its position regarding the ceasefire proposal approved by mediators. Al-Rishq added in a statement that Israel is not serious about reaching an agreement and is using the negotiations as a cover to invade Rafah and occupy its crossing, stressing that the occupation Prime Minister Netanyahu is trying to fabricate pretexts to evade negotiations and blames Hamas and the mediators. And on Thursday, the military wing of the Hamas movement, the Al-Qassam Brigades, unveiled footage showcasing its preparations to continue the conflict. For their part, the Al-Quds Brigades, the military wing of the Islamic Jihad movement, published scenes of the mortar shells it said were fired at Israeli soldiers entrenched in homes in the Sheikh Ajlin neighborhood south of the Gaza city. Let's take a look.
لهضاية العدو أن قادتكم يرسلونكم إلى جحيم الموت لتكونوا وأنتم صادقون. سنكون لكم بالمرصاد لا أمان لكم في بلادنا، سندعس على رؤوسكم أينما تواجدتم. بسم الله، ولا رميت إذ رميت ولكن الله رمى. الله أكبر. الله أكبر، والعزة لله ولرسوله وللمؤمنين. الله الله أكبر.
The US, the biggest arms provider to Israel, is considering stopping weapon deliveries if there is a big attack on Rafah, and comments by Joe Biden acknowledging that American weapons were used to kill civilians show the isolation Zionists are facing and the divisions among its government. Marwa Bilawar has more details.
Since the start of the 7-month Zionist war in Gaza, U.S. supplies 2,000-pound bombs to Israel have been used in bombardments on Gaza's heavily populated cities, causing a genocide against innocent, helpless Palestinians. The American administration no longer has any excuses left to justify the brutality of the Zionists in the Gaza Strip. Now, for the first time, public comments from the United States, by far the biggest supplier of weapons to Israel and its #1 supporter, surprised international public opinion.
Civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs and other ways in which they go after population centers.
In an interview with CNN, U.S. President Joe Biden acknowledged that the bombs, which military experts say turn earth into liquid, have killed civilians in Gaza. This came following his decision last week to halt a shipment of 3,500 bombs to Israel due to concerns they could be used in a ground assault into Rafah.
I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone into Rafah yet. If they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that problem.
As Biden approaches the end of his term, he's feeling the heat from Democrats and the American public, many experts suggest, and also the spread of demonstrations in support of the Palestinian cause is adding to his challenges to secure another term. The US has historically provided enormous amounts of military aid to Israel, yet analysts suggest that this move from the Biden administration shows once again the growing diplomatic isolation of the Zionist entity.
United Nations General Assembly will vote on Friday on a new draft resolution that recognizes the eligibility of Palestine for full membership in the international organization and recommends that the Security Council reconsider the matter positively. Immediately after the vote, the Assembly will ask the Security Council to reconsider and make a recommendation that it's consistent with the expected announcement, which was previously thwarted by the American veto. In other developments, the leader of Yemen's Houthis, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, said on Thursday the group would target ships of any company related to supplying or transporting goods to Israel, regardless of their destination. Let's take a listen.
مع العدوان الإسرائيلي على رفح تشمل
With the Israeli aggression on Rafah, it includes any ships belonging to any company involved in supplying or transporting goods to the Israeli enemy, regardless of their destination. This means that the matter is not conditional on whether they are heading to a port in occupied Palestine loaded with goods for the Israeli enemy. As long as that company sends ships to ports in occupied Palestine for the benefit of the Israeli enemy, these measures will be taken against it anywhere our hands reach. Whether it is carrying goods for the Israeli enemy at that moment or not, we will target it.
The Ansar Allah Houthi group in Yemen declared on Thursday that it had launched an attack on 2 Israeli ships in the Gulf of Aden. According to Yahya Sayri, the military spokesman for the Houthi group, the attack involved ballistic missiles and drones, marking a joint operation by naval, unmanned air, and missile forces. Sayri emphasized that the targeting aimed to deter Israeli navigation in the region and ships heading to Palestinian ports until the siege is lifted and aggression against Gaza ceases.
The Yemeni Houthi armed forces carried out a joint operation involving the naval forces, the drone force, and the missile force, targeting 2 ships as follows. The first ship was the Israeli MSC Daegu in the Gulf of Aden, and the other was the Israeli MSC Jina in the Gulf of Aden. The targeting operation was carried out using ballistic missiles and drones. The hits were precise thanks to God.
To Algeria now, where President Abdelmajid Tebboune received today the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Sultanate of Oman, Badr al-Busaidi, carrying a handwritten letter from Sultan Haytham bin Tariq. The meeting was attended by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmad Attaf, and the Director of the Presidential Cabinet, Bou'alam. This visit underlines the ongoing diplomatic relations between Algeria and Oman and reflects the commitment of both countries to strengthen cooperation and enhance bilateral ties across various fields.
I had the privilege of delivering a written message for His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq of His Excellency the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. I conveyed His Majesty's warm greetings to the President and expressed his sincere wishes for the continued prosperity and growth of both the President and the fraternal Algerian people. In return, His Excellency conveyed his personal regards to His Majesty Sultan Haytham and extended his best wishes for the well-being of the Omani people. He emphasized the significance of the Omani-Algerian relations and their ongoing development across various domains, underscoring the collaborative efforts within the framework of the Joint Committee and through continuous mutual consultations between our 2 nations.
And in the same context, the Omani Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi expressed his aspiration to achieve positive results as part of joint relations through the upcoming meeting of the Algerian-Omani Committee. Let's take a listen.
We aspire to more development and thriving for these relations for the common and mutual benefit of the 2 peoples. I'm happy to be here in Algeria today, and I look forward to the next meeting, God willing, to preside the Omani side of the Omani-Algeria Joint Commission, and there is a lot that ushers in more growth and development for these relations.
On Thursday, Algerian Foreign Minister Mr. Ahmad Attaf and his Omani counterpart Badr al-Busaidi, who was on a visit to Algeria as a special envoy, carrying a message from his Sultan Haytham bin Tariq to President Abdelmajid Tebboune, discussed the close relations between their countries and explored ways to further enhance them. During the meeting, the ministers reviewed the brotherly relations and cooperation as well as prospects for their enhancement to the highest levels in order to capitalize on the considerable capacities of both countries within the framework of a mutually beneficial economic partnership. Discussions also encompassed regional and global developments with particular attention to the present Palestinian issue. The Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, Lieutenant General Saïd Chengri, has stressed the Army's keenness to strengthen the foundations of Algeria's military power in all its forms. In his speech, General Chengri has stressed that the Algerian Army is taking all appropriate measures to confront any current challenges.
We made sure at the People's National Army aware of the current challenges to strengthen military capacity in all its forms. We took, under your high authority, the suitable measures to confront any possibility through the preparation of a strategy based on a logical evaluation of threats and optimal use of weapons, the equipment and the forces which are constantly adapted to guarantee the best security conditions. We can also affirm that the units of battle forces have reached a high level, as evidenced by the positive results achieved in the field.
Algerian Energy Minister Mr. Mohammed Arqab received by Turkish Vice President Yevdet Yilmaz on the sidelines of the 12th session of the Algerian-Turkish Joint Governmental Committee. The meeting highlighted the commitment of both countries to deepen and broaden their cooperation across various sectors. Stressing the importance of deepening consultations, Vice President Yilmaz highlighted opportunities to enhance investment and partnership across various sectors, particularly in energy and mining. The observatory in charge of monitoring the exploitation of Western Sahara's natural resources denounced the fait accompli strategy that Morocco intends to impose on occupied Western Sahara by implementing giant projects to produce renewable energy. A member of the observatory, which is responsible for monitoring the exploitation of natural resources in occupied Western Sahara, considered Morocco's supply of renewable energy to occupied Western Sahara a very worrying development. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Wednesday that the Eurasian Economic Union has demonstrated its effectiveness in confronting new Western challenges and sanctions. Putin pointed out that the size of the economy of the Eurasian Union countries increased over the past 10 years from $1.6 billion or million dollars trillion dollars to $2.5 trillion. Moscow hosted yesterday the meeting of the Economic Council of the Eurasian Union with the participation of heads of state and government of the Union, which includes 5 countries, including Russia. And the Russian capital, Moscow, witnessed a military parade to commemorate the 79th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory over Germany and in the Great Patriotic War of 1941 to 1945 in the Red Square in Moscow. More than 9,000 soldiers, 61 weapon systems and 15 combat aircraft participated in the Russian Victory Parade or Victory Day Parade in Moscow's Red Square. Nabil Khazini provides you with more details.
As the clock ticked in the heart of Moscow, that was the beginning of one of Russia's biggest days, Victory Day. This year's parade in Moscow's Red Square was the usual, well-choreographed display of Russia's military might, in which over 9,000 military personnel, more than 70 weapons systems, and also aircraft took part. While the day is mainly about the past, in many ways, it's also about Russia now.
We celebrate Victory Day in the context of the special military operation. All its participants, those who are on the front line, on the line of combat contact, are our heroes. We bow to your perseverance, self-sacrifice and dedication. All of Russia is with you.
И всегда будем помнить
The present that the Russian president was referring to is full of uncertainties and dangers, reassuring the audience about the peril of a world war. The Russian president confirmed that his country will make every effort to prevent a global confrontation, stressing that the West seeks to sow strife in regions of the world in order to achieve its ambitions.
Мы отвергаем претензии любого государства или...
We reject claims of exclusivity by any state or alliance. We know what the exorbitance of such ambitions leads to. Russia will do everything to prevent global confrontation. But at the same time, we will not allow anyone to threaten us. Our strategic forces are always in combat readiness.
Наши стратегические силы всегда в боевой готовности.
A day for remembering not only the Soviet defeat over Nazi Germany, but also the enormous human cost of that victory. The more than 27 million Soviet citizens killed in what's known here in Russia as the Great Patriotic War.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for tonight's edition. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye for now.